The accuracy of your throw as a catcher is debatably one of the most impressive skill sets that you can develop. A lot of catchers focus on pop time and velocity without focusing on the accuracy of their throw as much as they should. While pop time and velocity are extremely important, the third component of our throw, our accuracy, and how consistently we are accurate, is debatably more important. As you progress to higher levels of the game, the skill gap between athletes gets smaller, and the catchers who have the longest career are the ones who are the most consistent. Imagine you have catcher A who has a 1.85 pop time, but is only accurate 40% of the time, and then you put him up against catcher B who has a 2 flat pop time, but he's accurate 80% of the time. Catcher B with the higher pop time, but better accuracy, is going to throw out more runners. In this video, I'm going to give you 3 drills that you can begin practicing today, as well as some practical tips and advice to really take the accuracy of your throw as a catcher to that next level. The first concept that we need to understand in order to become more accurate is our release point. Our release point is the instant the ball goes from making contact with our hand to taking flight. Our release point can be manipulated by, number 1, changing the angle of our arm in relation to our spine, and number 2, the amount of time that we can stay in contact with the baseball. In order to understand what angle our arm should be in relation to our spine, we should typically do whatever feels natural and neutral. I don't believe in forcing the arm into any unnatural positions, and we should develop the ability to throw through close to about 90 degrees. A simple drill that you can do to get comfortable with these concepts is our clockwise throwing drill. To perform this drill properly, make sure that you're properly warmed up, including some kind of dynamic movement prep, as well as proper catch play to make sure your arm is at 100%. You're gonna wanna start in an athletic and neutral stance. Your feet should be slightly outside of shoulder width. If you don't feel comfortable and agile here, you're in a bad starting spot. Once you've found a position where you feel athletic, we wanna begin engaging with the ground and creating tension to apply into our throw. Slight bend in the knees, hinge at the hips. The chest can naturally come forward a little bit, and I want to think about holding all of my weight through my backside. Once I'm here, I can take the ball out of my glove and begin focusing on my partner or the net in front of me that I'm going to be throwing into. With the ball in our open hand, we want to begin working through our different arm slots or positions on a clock. So if I were to face this way, 12 o'clock would be directly over the top, 1 o'clock would be here, 2 o'clock would be here, and 3 o'clock would be directly parallel with the ground. And then we start getting into sub territory where we see 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, and 6 o'clock is almost directly underhand. So we're doing half of a clock. So a reminder to engage with your lower half. And then I want to begin working through all of my arm slots, beginning with 12 and ending at 6. Now, of course, you're not going to hit all of your numbers on the clock perfectly, but you want to try your best to hit each one. What you'll begin to notice is that in order to hit all of these different release points, you'll start making adjustments with your spine in order to allow yourself to get there. In order to reach this one release point, the angle of my spine needs to position itself to my left in order to allow my release point to get there. If I want to get to this 3 hand, the position of my spine stays very neutral and rigid in order to allow me to uncoil out here. If I want to get down to this 6 o'clock hand, my spine needs to tilt over my right side, and I almost begin coming up on one leg in order to allow the arm action to spiral away from the body. So once I understand all of this, all I'm going to do is work through the different hands on the clock from 1 until 6, and I can perform this drill in rounds at higher intensity to start to develop a component of arm strength as well as my accuracy. Or I can just work through it light if I'm working on this in catch play, where I maybe want to just increase my overall amount of command and control. Ultimately, the distance that you go on this drill doesn't really matter. Of course, if you're doing this drill with higher intensity and you have a partner, have them back up so you don't blow them up. I want to pick out one small detail to aim for. So you could pick the logo on your partner's chest, or if you have a net in front of you, you want to pick out one individual square to hit. At the end of the day, if you want to be more accurate, you need focused repetition under your belt, and you ultimately need to practice being accurate. The second concept that we want to begin to understand is our extension through the baseball. Our extension through the baseball is essentially how far we can release the baseball past our body. In other words, how long we can stay in contact with the ball before it leaves our hand. Here's a great analogy to help this make sense. What is the difference between a sniper with a super long barrel compared to a handgun with a short barrel? A sniper is much more accurate over a long distance compared to a handgun. Why is that? One of the biggest contributing factors is the length of the barrel on each type of gun. The long barrel of a sniper allows it to stay in contact with the bullet for a much longer period of time and has a greater ability to guide the bullet over a longer distance. Now, the same concept applies to our throw or any object that we send into the air. The longer that we can stay connected to a baseball and the more time that we can spend guiding it to our target, the more spin that we're going to create and the more accurate that we will become. So as catchers, a great drill that we can do in order to create more extension and increase our accuracy is the scap set lateral throw. To perform this drill properly, make sure you're properly warmed up, including some kind of dynamic movement prep, as well as proper catch play. If I'm facing my partner head on, I want to turn 90 degrees so that my lead shoulder is facing my net or the partner that I'm throwing at. I want to initially start with my feet at about the same distance that they would be in my batting stance. Once I'm there, I can add about 6 to 8 inches of space with my front foot, and I want to begin to open up my lead leg just a little bit. Initially, my foot is closed off to about 90 degrees, and I want to rotate my foot towards my target somewhere between about 45 degrees and 0 degrees. That feels comfortable for me. Now, this step is very important because it's directly going to affect the amount of time we can spend behind the baseball. If I leave my front side closed, I'm gonna have to fight across my front hip in order to get this throw off. But if I can open up and give myself some space, I'm gonna have more time to rotate into this front side, which will allow me to stay through my throw longer. So once my base is set and I feel athletic and engaged with the ground, I'm gonna begin to preset my upper half. If I'm throwing into this net, athletic and engaged with the ground, about 45 degrees open with my front side. Now I'm gonna go ahead and preset both sides. And I'm gonna feel tight, engaged, like I'm pulling my scaps back and pinching my back together. Palms facing down, strong wrist, and I'm pinching my shoulder blades and engaging with my lower half as hard as I can to create the tension I need to fuel my throw. To initiate this throw, I want to pull my lead elbow into my back pocket. As I'm initiating my forward momentum with this pull, I want to allow my arm to find its slot naturally. Now, here is the most important aspect of this entire drill. It's how we finish our throw. On each rep, I want to ensure that my backside is kicking up and over the same way that you would see a good pitcher do. I'm gonna pull the front side, allow the arm to work through, and then everything is going to finish up and over just like a pitcher. The higher and more naturally I can get my backside to kick up and over, the more time I'm gonna stay behind that baseball. And if you wanna add an arm strength component to this drill, I can send my partner out and have them continue backing up as far as I can get the ball there on a fly. The third concept that we need to understand in order to put the finishing touches on our accuracy as a catcher is the spiraling of the arm. In order to understand how our arm action spirals into release, we need to understand how the arm action actually works. Whenever a thrower begins to rotate, so going from chest facing forward, as this rotation of the upper half is happening, the arm begins to engage, create tension with the backside, and spiral away from us as we work to our release point. The more consistent we are with this spiral, the more aware of our release point we'll become, which will lead to a greater amount of feel, placement, and accuracy. A great drill that we can do to understand proper spiraling of the arm is the lasso drill. It's called the lasso drill because if you watch a video of a cowboy spinning a lasso, we're trying to throw a baseball in the same way, exaggerating this movement of spinning a lasso. Before you begin this drill, I would begin getting the feel of the spiral itself. So you can just stand neutral without a ball in your hand and begin spinning the lasso. If it feels overly forced or unnatural, it means you're probably doing it wrong. You should begin to create some kind of rhythm with this movement, with the wrist, elbow, and shoulders all being able to rotate naturally. Start slow if you need to, and once you understand the movement of the lasso or the spiraling of the arm, I can begin incorporating this movement into my throw. I want to start with my feet neutral and I want to feel athletic. Once I'm in this position that feels comfortable, I want to bring my glove arm up to horizontal with the ground And I want to begin my throwing arm vertical to the ground. Engage the scaps at about 50%, and now I want to begin this lasso movement. With this drill, the intensity that you're working at should be relatively moderate until you get comfortable with it. And we're not under any time constraints, meaning we don't need to rush this movement. As I begin spinning the lasso, I want to begin to understand how it feels in relation to the rest of my body, specifically the timing that it needs to work with the rest of my body. So once I feel good and everything is synced up, I want to begin engaging my lower half and starting to rotate onto my back side. Once I'm fully engaged with the ground, I want to go ahead and throw the lasso or release the ball. So one time at about 50% speed, engage with the ground, set the upper half, spin the lasso, start rotating back, and then let the lasso go. I should feel like I'm loading into my backside in sync with the spinning of the lasso. That way my release can be seamless. I'm loading into the ground, spiraling away from the body. And I can also open up to face my front shoulder towards my partner just to try this drill through a different variation. Hey, I hope you enjoyed the tips and drills that I provided you with in this video. If anything in this video resonated with you, or if you want to go deeper on these concepts, I invite you to inquire about my Drop Your Pop Time training program. Most recently coming through the program, we had guys like Jack get down to a 189, we had Tyler hit a 192, and we had John hit a 194. In this program, I break down the entire sequence of the throw into 4 phases where athletes just like you can work through the program one-on-one with me and get my direct coaching on your throw. The program is designed to help you decrease your pop time, but within that, we're going to dive deep into your mechanics and teaching you really how to throw consistently, harder, and more accurately. If that sounds like something you'd be interested in, the best way to get in contact with me, shoot me a follow on Instagram, DM me the word pop time. That'll open up a conversation between you and my team to see if we can help you and to see if you'd make a good fit for the program.